Welcome to Washington East to West Sports. This is episode 30. I am Matt Beatty, joined alongside, as usual, by Sean Beatty and Kevin Ardall. If you want to get involved in the show, please tweet us. I am Matt Beatty underscore Matt. Sean is at Sean underscore Beatty. Kev is at Kev's Believes the first, Ian Believes being the three. And we must start the show off by wishing Sean and myself's uncle, Jeffrey, a happy birthday. So happy birthday, Uncle Jeff. Hopefully you have some cake or something nearby. Maybe make some cupcakes or something and celebrate. And once we're all vaccinated, we can celebrate that all in person. But gentlemen, let's jump into a quick subject before we get into some of our bigger topics in the show. NCAA tournament has been happening, and we talked to the other Gonzaga Bulldogs, and they are rolling through the NCAA tournament right now. 98-55 win in their opening round matchup, and then an 87-71 win today. But I think the tournament has been dominated by the Pac-12. Four teams making the Sweet 16. Not many people saw that coming, I'm sure. But I do want to ask our Eastern Washington alums how close that upset was over Kansas and how you're feeling. I mean, you guys got a lot of national recognition. So, Kevin, you're the Eastern alum. How did it feel to come so close to beating a Kansas in the NCAA tournament?
Very sweet. And then I cried. I cried about for like 3 hours, sobbing into a pillow. No, I'm kidding. But no, it was cool to see. Especially since Kansas. Well, at the time we thought was a good. They came back and they showed their stuff, and then they got obliterated by UCLA, USC, excuse me. It was still cool that they made the tournament. So I'm proud of them.
So I don't know how. Sorry, Sean, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I was going to say the Pac-12 and men and women's is 14-2 as of right now. You said Eastern alums. I'm not Eastern alum. I'm a Washington State Cougar alum.
Well, you're gonna be an Eastern alum at some point, hopefully.
Grad school at Eastern, yes, but I am not. I haven't graduated yet. It's not my alma mater yet.
Okay, all right. So we'll say a student.
There you go. They looked really well. Their two big brothers basically were the only two. They were, I want to say best player. They might have been the best players on the court, both teams included. However, the problem with a team like Kansas is they're other players. So like you might have the best two players go to Eastern, but the next 11 players in talent are all on Kansas. That's where they just lost. It was the other three guys on the court and the other five on Kansas. And their bench as well were so deep. They just the two brothers just could not beat Kansas 2-on-5, essentially. I mean, the other players, they did their part, but it was just, you could tell like these group of players, those two and the five Kansas players belonged in one pool, and then the other three did not. And unfortunately, like that's why I wasn't able to pull it out at the end. But those two brothers are underclassmen, so they're gonna be there for a little bit. But and then maybe with some coaching, the other guys can help out a little bit more next time. But it was fun to see. I was rooting pretty hard for Eastern, even though it screwed up my bracket quite a bit. But actually not that much. I had Kansas losing to USC anyway. So, but still, I would have liked. I'll sacrifice a point to see Eastern win.
Yeah, I also had USC winning that game as well. So in my bracket group, I'm actually leading, which is very surprising considering my bracket also is terrible because two of my Final Fours are out in Ohio State and Illinois. So,
oh man,
thank you.
Are you leading? Or are you projected to win? Because those are very.
I'm currently winning, but I am not I don't have the most maximum points available.
You are in trouble. Probably. You are in trouble.
Yeah, I know. So thank you, Oral Roberts. Thank you, Sister Jean in Loyola, Chicago, for that. I do want to mention the women real quick. Sean, you mentioned 14-2. One of those losses does happen to be the WSU women. I watched that game yesterday, and they came up just short against University of South Florida. Close game. And then the Gonzaga women, I watched them today, and they were the high seed and lost to Belmont at 12.
You're just bad luck. Stop watching basketball games.
Okay. All right. I'm going to stop watching basketball, and then all my teams will win. So that's the lesson learned here. Let us know how your bracket's doing. Go ahead. And
I got a quick story. I was watching. I have Hulu, and I was watching the women's basketball game. Cougars, go Cougs, and I was like, okay, let's start this thing. Not knowing what time it was because had it on the background. I was studying for my tests, and got the text message that WSU lost. as the game was in the second quarter on my screen, not realizing the entire time I wasn't live. So that's how my game went. So they were tied, and I was like, they lost. What the heck? And so yeah, that was how I was spoiled with the game. But I didn't finish the rest of the game, so I don't know how the game ended. But the first quarter and a half was good to watch.
Yeah, I mean they stuck with them, and they were the 9 seed, so it's a
it was a close
mostly
game.
an even matchup,
Yeah.
But Ledger Walker, the freshman of the year, she looked good. It just couldn't get it done in the end. So
She looked like the best player in the court, like the two brothers from Eastern. She was very good.
But gentlemen, let's move on to some baseball here. So the Mariners are currently playing right now, actually. But I'm going to go over the results of the last week. So Tuesday, they defeated the Kansas City Royals 13-0. They lost to the Los Angeles Angels 7-4 and 7 on Wednesday. Defeated San Francisco and then Chicago on Thursday, Friday. Lost to Texas on Saturday before defeating Milwaukee yesterday 3-1. They are currently playing the Dodgers, and while I was getting ready for the show, I saw that Evan White, Jose Marmoleos, and Mitch Haniger all have home runs off of Trevor Bauer in this game.
Aren't they back to back to back too?
I know one of them was back to back. I think Marmoleos and White were. I wasn't sure if Haniger was also back to back to back. But I saw the 3 home runs. It's on Twitter. They have like a 3 video tweet.
Oh no,
thing.
yeah, you're right. It was only.
So I watched all of those, and it's great to see our bats hitting off of such a prominent pitcher that's going to be probably the Dodgers' ace, if not top 2 pitcher on that team. So it's really great.
He's probably like the 3 on the Dodgers or not. Like, yeah, Dodgers are loaded, man.
Yeah, debatable, but I mean, off of a pitcher the caliber of Trevor Bauer, that is nice to see. So. Gentlemen, I'm just going to ask you kind of what you've thought so far of these recent spring training games. So, Sean, what have you thought of the Mariners so far this last week?
It's kind of the same. I just look for what the players that I think are going to stick here. Evan White's been playing a little better, so I'm glad with that. He's hitting more home runs, doing some things. I heard it was recently they wanted him to switch his batting stance. He said he wasn't comfortable and is now going back to his old one, and he's looked a lot better. So I think that's important. The pitchers, again, all I'm looking for is decency. Sheffield, we talked last week. The next day, Sheffield bounced back and was awesome. So I just want some of these guys like Gerber. He had a little rough start or left game yesterday, but they're, as a bullpen too, they've actually been looking a little better. So the hitters are kind of doing their thing. Trammell and Ty France are still doing it. I can't believe Ty France is just being such a beast right now. But yeah, the team actually as a whole, I said I predicted win 71 games, but I can't see if all this works out that they're going to win. That they're only going to win 71. And I want to say this too. My boss got me this Harold Reynolds baseball from 1991. He found it in his attic today. So shout out to Ben. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah. Old school Mariners. What's up?
Kevin, what have you thought of the Mariners so far this last week?
Yeah, it was kind of like a pleasant surprise, noting that Sheffield bounced back and even had a kind of a solid outing today against pretty good teams. Like Kansas City was like number 2 in baseball for spring training up until that point, like offensively. So it was good. And then, the Dodgers are no slouches either. So good to see him. James Paxton yesterday dealing. It was kind of like our real first taste of Paxton yesterday, and looked good, like some solid stuff. So it looks like he's kind of ready to go. As far as hitting, Trammell's kind of come down to earth a little bit, but he's still being solid, and Kyle Lewis has stepped it up, which is nice to see. Kyle Seager is still just going ham like on kids. That's what I'm pleasantly surprised to see, and I hope it continues on to the start of the regular season, through April and May. Is Kyle Seager just doing awesome, sweet things. Nice to see Kelnick back and getting hot after being gone. So, I mean, it's hard not seeing them on the opening day roster. What they'll do is going to be interesting because, like, Haniger's hot. Kyle Lewis's bat's heating up.
You're
You know,
you're cheating on the sheet, man. We're gonna talk about that next.
Sorry.
Okay, just go. Just keep talking.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Transferring in, yes, to what we're going to see for like finalizing rosters. Yeah, like it's might be like just kind of like a rotating thing, most likely. I would prefer to have Haniger as DH just to keep him healthy. Of course, just because of the freak accidents. We're acting like he's a grandpa, which is kind of sad.
Isn't he like
he's like 27 or 28. He's still youngish.
Is he a little older?
I swear to God, I think he's
30. He just turned 30.
Oh, he is 30? Holy shit.
Yeah. But he's like just turned 30. Yeah. He's the same age essentially as Tom Murphy. Like they're basically the same age. Yeah.
Yeah. We're acting like he's 87. Like, protect grandpa out there.
He's the same he's the same age as he's the same age as Marco Gonzalez and Kikuchi. Like he's the same age. Yeah.
So it'd be nice just because that bat's so hot right now. I'd like to see it continue like that and just see him do good things, especially after the 2 freak injuries. I don't want him getting hurt again. I want him to see him going, type of deal, especially since if we can trade him off to get more pieces, that would be great too. Also, the little sample size of Julio too, by the way, has been very nice to see. He's already showing the league. He's like, hey, I got pop. It's coming. Be ready for it type of deal. Ty France, where he fits on here, I don't know, because Dylan Moore is also playing well, but you can't. I think Ty France has got to start somewhere. Like, where though?
When we talk about it, it's got to be first base or DH. One of those jobs is his, because you're not taking Kyle Lewis or Kyle Seager, and Ty could play second, but like you said, Dylan Moore's hot too. You got to give Dylan Moore a shot. But
at this moment, can he play shortstop? Because Crawford's bat is
none of those guys can really play shortstop. That would be the obvious fit right now, but none of them really can play short.
Yeah, I honestly, like, even though Evan White, like you said, Evan White's bat's been turning around, like, you gotta start Ty France at first. Like,
I think you have to start Ty right now. I guess I'll go into it. Ty France has to be DH to start. You have to give Evan White a shot. But like you said, if he struggles, then Ty France has to get the shot at first just so you can free up Mitch Haniger to go to DH. I will say this, because I would start Ty France at DH, because I do not think Kelnick will make the roster to start. Ooh. Should he is a different question. Will he is what I think. I don't think he will. But when he does, I think once he does very early in the year, it'll depend on what Evan White is doing. If Evan White is not hot, he will be benched or maybe even sent down. If he is hot, then you have a trade sort of conundrum what's happening. And is Trammell or whoever's in the left field doing it? Because you're right, Kevin. You're quickly – I mean, although you could – I guess you move into second if Dylan Moore's not cutting it. You have some options. Like if 3 guys aren't hitting you, if one of the 3 is not hitting, you can move Ty there. Mm-hmm. Or if you have traded Kyle Seager because Ty can play third or whatever your option is. But if they're all hitting like I think some people think that they are, you're going to have a serious issue. And I think you'll have to trade somebody. The Kelnick trade will trigger somebody having to be traded. A Trammell, a Haniger, a Kyle Seager, somebody with some age. You're going to have to trade somebody that just doesn't have a spot. And like you said, Kevin, I was saving this, but it's great to see Julio and Kelnick both with coming into today. I don't know if they've got a bat or anything. They're both OPSs over 1,000, and they're kids, and they're both just hitting. Like Julio Rodriguez.
I think.
Oh, today?
No, wait, no, there was Haniger. Sorry.
Yeah, yesterday. Julio and Kelnick hit home runs in yesterday's game. Julio's was 98 on the outside. He took it away, like went the opposite field, which is like something 19-year-old kids don't do. And so that is like he is on the fast track. So, Marin fans, hope is on the way. Don't fret.
Yeah, neither of them have played today's game.
Okay, but yeah, they're both OPS over 1,000. So they have shown that they're playing against major talent and they're doing it. Now they're not going to be 1,000, maybe they might be, but I don't think they'll be both 1,000 OPS guys in the majors. But they're showing that if you make mistakes, they're gonna capitalize at the major league level.
Gerber just threw a scoreless 8th, by the way.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, so let's jump into the kind of conversation you guys have already been having. So let's talk about that opening day roster, and I want to specifically talk about the opening day starting roster. So Ryan Davis tweeted out on wait, was this today? Yes, it was today. Yesterday. That surveys said they would like to finalize the opening day roster before the weird off day on Sunday. So that would be this coming Sunday. The Mariners are likely monitoring the market for outfielders that are out of minor league options and won't make opening day rosters. Could be an easy stopgap. So I just want to put out who I think will be the opening day starters. You guys can tell me if you agree or disagree. This isn't batting order. This is just by position at this moment. So I think I'll have Seager at third. In the outfield, I think it's going to be Kyle Lewis, Jared Kelenic, and Trammell. At designated hitter, I think it's going to be Mitch Haniger. Shortstop is Crawford. Second base is Moore. First base is Evan White. And catcher is Tom Murphy, with Marco obviously starting on the mound.
No Ty France?
What's that?
You have no Ty France?
I don't have him starting. I think Seager's is going to be third base. Unless you guys see him playing somewhere else, because
who was your outfield again? Who was your outfield again?
Lewis, Kelenic, and Trammell.
You think Kelenic makes opening day?
Yeah. So we could talk about that because
no, that's fine. I missed the outfield. So okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Sean, you mentioned you don't know if Kelenic will make it. I don't see any way you could keep him off the roster at this point. I don't, especially with everything that's gone on before the actual spring training started and how he's played in spring training. I think it would just be the worst optics for Mariners management if they kept Kelenic off the roster at this point. Like, I understand not wanting to burn service time, but at the same time, I think he's made enough of a case with the limited time he's had in the lineup to be on the opening day roster. Now, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but especially if there are going to be fans in the stands, like that Jared Kelenic is going to sell tickets. Like, that is also a part of it. And, I think baseball wise, he might not, depending on who you talk to, might not be quite ready, but I don't see any way you keep him off the opening day roster. Now, Julio, man, he's playing well. I would like to put him on the roster somewhere, but I think, like you guys have been saying, like, then there needs to be some sort of outfield trade, I would imagine, because I just think it might be a little too crowded, and you can swing guys into designated hitter roles or do something like that, but it just seems like it's a crowded outfield at this point. So somebody's probably going to have to go at some point in the first few months of the season if they all play well. Now, if they all don't play well, kind of problem solve. You send one down and you should be all right. But I don't see how you, Julio has been playing well and hitting home runs and, playing well in the outfield. So it's hard for me to see any reason why you would, option to Tacoma other than service time at this point. What do you guys think? Sean, I'll throw it to you first.
I mean, I agree. They're going to play up the injury. Again, as I said, the difference between should and would are different. I think they will keep him down. I don't think they should. He's playing, but he did just come back from an injury. It's a knee. They could claim they're a little worried. There is reason to say he has played 22, 23 games at AA, and that's it. He hasn't played any more. He hasn't played like AAA, nothing like that. So it's kind of like there is serious, look, you haven't put in these at bats at a certain level. Like, this is a legit concern. People do struggle. Evan White barely played AA, and look at him now. I mean, I'm not saying Evan White's better. He will even be Evan White, but like, people, you could rush guys, things like that. I don't really believe in the whole adage. I think if you're ready, you're ready. But I think Jared is technically ready. I think he is. If it was me, he'd be on the opening day roster. That's why I have my opening day outfield as Trammell, Haniger and right, and then Kyle Lewis in center. They might put Trammell in center, but I think Kyle Lewis is he earned his way as a center fielder last year. He was very good defensively. Was much better than people thought he was going to be. And then the infield's Evan White, Dylan Moore, JP, Kyle Seager, and then Tom Murphy will be there, and Ty France will be DH. And for you, Matthew, saying about the outfield will get crowded very quickly. I said that last year, and everyone said I hated Kyle Lewis. I just said I don't hate him. We're running into a very crowded outfield here very quickly. Like, it's a good problem to have, but it is a problem to have. Like, we only have max of 4 spots with the DH included to play outfielders, and very quickly, by probably the first month, we'll have 5 outfielders on this team, and they need to all get at bats because you cannot call up Jared Kelnick and put him on the bench. He's playing every day when you call him up.
Yeah, I agree with that because I think the DH spot is an outfielder's, no question about it. Yeah. So it's
because Kevin's right. It is Mitch Haniger when they're all healthy. Kevin is right. It is Mitch Haniger.
And I don't know how players feel about being in the DH role. I'm not sure if they mind it or if they want to play in the field or if they really care at all. But I think you've got to have Haniger in there in some capacity, whether it's DH or in the outfield. Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of a first time where we have blessing of riches type of deal for hitting. I could see possibly both of them making the team and then kind of having some rotations daily of stuff. Like, even like, it's just going to be hard to keep Ty France off of it. Like, maybe even Dylan Moore takes a back seat at second type of deal. And you just put Ty France there just because. But it's definitely going to come down to Evan White. Like, that's going to be the main key, as we've already kind of mentioned. Whether he can take that leap or not, because even though he is just nutty, absolutely defensively at first, like, if you're hitting sub 200, like, I'd rather take someone who's just solid at first, and is hitting, his OPS is, way higher than yours.
Not 500.
Yeah. So, yeah, I would say starting outfield, I'm going to, just to be different, I'm going to go with Matt's and say it's that. And then Haniger's a DH, but I put Dylan Moore as your utility guy and put France as starting second base. And then the rest falls in. And then what I think is you have Moore be your utility guy and your pitch hitter. That comes in late. And then if White struggles, then you send down Evan Moore, switch France over to first, and then you put Dylan Moore in second. Because then you got to utilize that. Like, that's, if they all hit, that is just murderer's row right there. Like, you then have to decide, like, who's batting 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like type of deal.
And then in the year you have to figure out where Julio goes.
I know, right?
Yeah, you definitely have to trade somebody in a year then.
Oh, it's so yummy. So, like I said, it's a nice blessing of riches to have as a Mariners fan, because we haven't really had it in a long, long time. So, do we want to, I guess, then transition into pitching? I mean, we kind of already know.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, Marco's going to be your number one, of course. And then I would say probably Paxton's going to be 2, especially after the outing that he just had yesterday. He looked good. He looked ready to go. Just that the only thing with him is just health, man. Like, he's just got to stay healthy. And then, like, if he pitches like he does, like on a constant basis, then you trade that man. You go get more stuff. For me,
Gucci or Sheffield? It's got to be that, right? One of those two, or do you have flex?
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's between those two. I'm trying to decide who's 3 and who's 4 right now.
It's kind of a coin toss.
I would say at this point you probably put Kikuchi 3 just because he has more experience, and then Sheffield 4. But if they swapped it,
yeah,
I would really want. And then
if one was a righty, it'd be great. But they're all 4 lefties, so it really doesn't matter that regard either.
And then Dunn / what's the other guy? GT's.
Well, they're going 6 man.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
So
yeah. Who's the guy that GT was Flexen? Yeah, like Flexen Dunn is your 5-6, whatever order that they want to.
I think you got it. Flexen and then Dunn. I think Dunn's your 6 because he's kind of the most fringe to like keep his job. in the rotation.
So, and then bullpen, pretty much what I don't really see. I mean, of course, they can't keep everybody up there. And there's going to be so much rotation, with injuries and stuff like that, and then people getting hot.
Basically, who do you think the only one role that we care about and know is who's the closer? Is Montero the closer?
Yeah, at this point, I'd say Montero.
Yeah.
So I do want to mention the Ronis Elias injury. So he underwent surgery for an elbow injury last week. So it's hard to tell when he'll be back. But how much does this hurt the pitching arms in the bullpen for you guys? Sean, what do you think?
I love Elias. He was playing really well too. What he was doing is what they're asking him to do. He was a vet in that bullpen and a vet with Seattle. Like he spent time in Seattle, and he liked Seattle enough clearly to come back for a third time. Because he was there traded, then came back on his own. So I think it's a big deal. Flexor strain. It's nothing I just had to look it up. It's nothing, and it's not nothing surgery either. So there's.
It's not Tommy John though, right?
No, it is not Tommy John.
Okay.
But it hurts. I was really looking forward to him kind of solidifying part of his bullpen, and so yeah, it hurts us.
Everyone.
Yeah, kind of like I mentioned in the episode that we had JT, like he's the guy that you can rely on when the starter's getting shelled to give you a solid 2 to 3 innings that you need to where you're not like, maximizing your bullpen to where, the next day you're struggling and that you kind of need your starting pitcher to go 6+ innings to keep your bullpen fresh, excuse me. Gosh. But he's just that reliable vet that you can go to like in the pen, like when you need something like, so yeah, it's a big blow. Luckily we're not really biting for anything this year. So it's like, if this is like, if we have him 2 years down the road, like type of deal, this would be huge when we're actually going for stuff. But it, as a fan, and I know Sean as a fan too, we would love to see him play, be a sexy girl out there, but unfortunately, hopefully he gets healthy soon. And hopefully we can see him, by summertime, I'm guessing. Is that Sean, because you know more about the diagnosis than
I mean, it just says flexor strain. I don't know what exactly they did, but yes, summertime is probably realistic because he wasn't all the way ramped up either in spring training, so he's going to have to really ramp up again after that. Yeah. So summer, maybe middle summer is probably most realistic.
Yeah,
just in case. Yeah. So I scratched out a quick batting lineup based on my starters that I said. So let me know what you think. So Crawford, Seager, Lewis, Haniger, Trammell, Kelnick, White, Murphy, Moore.
I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. What they've been showing. The rumor is that Crawford's getting dropped in the lineup, but from what they were saying right now and what we go is, I'll say JP's leadoff for now. My idea will be Moore as the leadoff, but right now they say Crawford. Then I have Mitch Haniger at 2, and I think that's pretty solid. They're going to have Mitch Haniger at 2, Kyle Lewis at 3, Seager, and then it kind of gets a little tricky. I have Ty France, Tom Murphy. I'm forgetting somebody.
Trammell.
It's Trammell, and then JP as my 9.
Okay, that's still a pretty solid lineup. I still like that lineup.
I like Dylan Moore's on base and stealing a lot because Crawford has to show me he can get on base more. And again, Dylan Moore steals more bases on top of getting on base more, so it's kind of hard not to put him higher up. I'd say give him those at bats because, like Kevin said, JP's been struggling a little bit. If he plays well at 9, then we can have a conversation. But I think he has to earn that leadoff spot back again.
Kevin, would you say the same thing?
Yeah, and I could even see because Trammell's not bad on the bases either. Yeah, I could see Trammell doing a leadoff type deal. That's what. So I actually kind of I was thinking Trammell being first, Haniger second. Kyle Lewis being third. Yeah, Seager fourth. Francis, your fifth is DH or second or whatever the heck they do. Because it just depends on Evan White being on there. Because Evan White's probably going to be your
6.
God.
7, 6 probably.
If I'm going based off what I
probably
had,
7 behind Tom Murphy.
I have
right?
White at 7.
Yeah,
in front of Murphy and Moore, but I'm sure that's all debatable.
Yeah. I would say, because you got to go Pop afterwards. I would put Murphy, White, and then Crawford at batting last. So that's probably what I would do.
All right. Well, let us know what you think out there of the Mariners opening day lineup. Go ahead and tweet us. I'm at Baby_Matt. Sean's at Sean_Biddy. Kev's at Kev's Believes the first team believes me at 3. Subscribe to our page on YouTube. Give us a comment. Let us know what your starting lineup is. Follow our page on the E-Line Network. Can't really comment on that, but just follow it just because it's a good idea to see all of our videos. Good place for all of them. So, gentlemen, let's talk about the Seattle Seahawks. So, since we last spoke, there have been a lot of free agent moves, specifically from the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm going to get to my handy dandy sheet here, and I'm scrolling down to the Seattle Seahawks. So the biggest move, I would say, you guys we'll debate this, but the biggest move I would say is re-signing Chris Carson on a 2-year, $14.625 million deal, according to Tom Pelissero, of the NFL Network. So other signings include Gerald Everett, 1-year deal, up to $7 million, $6 million guaranteed. They traded for Gabe Jackson. They traded a 5th-round pick in this draft, so they only have 3 picks in this draft now. Ethan Pocic re-signed on a 1-year, $3 million deal. The one that I'm sure everyone is happy for is Poona Ford re-signing on a 2-year deal worth up to $14 million in incentives. And then they signed Akello Witherspoon from the San Francisco 49ers on a 1-year, $4 million deal that is fully guaranteed. So, gentlemen, I'm just going to ask you what you think of these, which ones are surprising to you, if you like any of them. So, Kevin, what do you think of these signings?
I mean, the signing that's going to get us back to the Super Bowl, of course, is Nick Bellore. Just an all-around stud. Pretty much makes defensive coordinators just sweat and pee their pants at night. He's just quad threat nightmare. He's like a quad laser. Nick Bellore is feared by pretty much. I mean, Aaron Donald kind of has nightmares and has to go to therapy because of Nick Bellore. Of course, I'm kidding, but okay. Let's start with Carson. They shouldn't have done it. What they're paying, like what he is going against the cap, is not as bad as I thought it would be, but it's still at the same time you shouldn't do it because you shouldn't pay running backs, as we've already discussed on here. And I'm a Chris Carson fan. I even have a jersey of him. I love his running style, but like, it's not only that you shouldn't have paid him, but then also it's just like the penny pick is just, null and void. That was just a bad move. So you now have technically 6 backs on the roster if you include Bellore. They're going to be cut, a couple of them, but it just didn't make sense, to be honest. Like, we didn't need it, but Pete Carroll, he's thinking 1984 run, and he just gets a little turned on, unfortunately. So Witherspoon had a good year last year. Whether that will come back, he's had problems with injuries and stuff like that, so that'll be interesting to see. The one I like the most probably is actually Poona Ford, just because he's a beast. Sean's probably going to agree with that too, because he also loves Poona Ford, probably even more than I do. He's just a solid ass beast. I actually kind of like the Pocic one, just because we didn't really give him a whole lot, and honestly, it was his first year at center since college. So I didn't put a whole lot into how he played. A lot of times what I saw in film when we were doing the podcast over the season, I saw some good things, but I also saw some like errors that I think could be cleaned up. So I would like to see him in, 2 years with a full off, and he also didn't have an off season too. So I like to see him with a full off season and see kind of what he can do at center because he's a big boy. Also, the one thing about Carson, sorry, I'm backtracking here. There were some rumors out there that Russell Wilson like wanted him and like went for him coming back. So if that's a thing, I guess that's good, but also that scares me too, because Russell should know better that getting a line in front of you is more important than getting a back behind you. So how much of that I would really want to know more of how much of that is true of it being pandering to Russell Wilson's wants. Or needs technically of what he wants to do, keeping him in the loop. The Jackson trade was kind of silly because he ranked worse than both our starting guards last year. And we gave up a 5th round pick for him. We should have got Hudson instead if we're going to do that, because Arizona gave up a 3rd for him. If we're going to give up a pick, let's go get a top 10 center for a 3rd round pick, like versus a guy that ranked, I think, 47th in starting guards last year. Worse than both Iupati and Lewis, even though his pass blocking was better than both. That's good. Not by a whole lot, but and other than that, I think I pretty much covered everybody. So I'll switch it off to Sean.
Okay, so I largely agree with Kevin. I will say the best moves were Puna and Witherspoon. Puna was great because it wasn't crazy, and Witherspoon is super underrated, like Kevin said, if he's healthy. But he's fantastic. If he plays like he did last year, or really whenever he's healthy, he's a great player. I largely agree with exactly what Kevin said. Is if Russell wanted Carson, I'm fine with the move, because all I want from this situation is Russell to be involved. Do I agree with the move? Probably not, but I just want Russell to be in the room. If Russell determines that he wants this and he wants to get a running back like Mahomes did in the 1st round, you do whatever he wants. He's your quarterback. You get the players your quarterback wants, and I'm okay with it. I will say the deal, like Kevin said, isn't as bad as I thought it was. If you cut him after this year, then money really kicks in the following year, and you cannot pay a running back that much in the NFL, in today's NFL, and succeed. The one I hated the most was Gabe Jackson. You can't pay someone like Gabe Jackson, like Kevin said, a guard like that, $10 million against the cap to be that bad. Gabe Jackson is making more than the other moves I just mentioned together. So Ballor's terrible too. You don't need a fullback. It's 2021. Stop with this whole thing. Pochik, I agree with Kevin and Matthew. It's $3 million. He has versatility. As of right now, I've seen that people saying Lewis is actually going to play center, Jones is going to play left guard, and Jackson is going to play right guard. And Pochik's just going to be the all-around backup for all 3 positions. That's what I've been seeing.
Weird. Yeah.
So, I think Pochik's most valuable asset is his ability to play all 3 spots: tackle, guard, and center. Now, he doesn't play them great, but he can play all of them, which is really nice to have, like a Ty France, someone who could do all of those things. And if you're locking him into a spot, he kind of loses his versatility. But, and if, honestly though, if you can lock in Lewis at center's easier place to pass block than it is, because you're really calling the play, not actually doing the pass blocking assignments as much, because the tackles usually not lining up directly over you. And if you already have guard help, so he'll get more help that way as being the center on passing situations, which is what he lacks. But yeah, I do not. Ballor, Jackson, and Carson are kind of iffy trades, but Witherspoon and Puna, basically the defensive moves I think they made actually was very big and very good this offseason, at least so far.
Yeah, I don't really agree with you guys. I think the Chris Carson, especially for the amount that he signed for, I think that's a very reasonable deal for a very experienced running back because
How much do you think it's for?
it's $5 million.
Well, yeah, it's like $7 million next year. He's $2 million this year against the cap. That's when it comes to the issue.
Mhm.
I mean, $5 million, $2 million, like you're gonna be upset about a few million here or there. Like I don't really see that much of an issue with it, and it's 2 years, and there's an opt-out
A
after the
running
second
back
year.
making more than $2 million hasn't won a Super Bowl in the last like 15 Super Bowls. You do not pay core running backs and win Super Bowls. That's just how it works.
Cool.
But like, if that's the goal,
like,
it's telling you do not pay running backs. And I just told you last week the thing, like 7 of the top 10 running backs in money didn't make the playoffs even. Like if you pay running backs, it's hard to win. You pay quarterbacks and then you win.
I mean, sure, but I would just prefer to have Carson's veteran presence in there. You got Penny left still there, who hasn't really played that much. DJ Dallas, who's a rookie coming in, so you don't really know what you have back there with him. And then Travis Homer, I mean, he got some playing time, but he's not an every down back. Like I think bringing him back as an every down back is a good move, especially for the price, and especially because, like you mentioned, Russ advocated for this, and you guys have been saying you want to make Russ happy.
If he did.
I think Russ had some say in this, and it was like basically he tweeted out right after they signed him. So I think this was a move to please Russ, and like you said, Kevin, obviously people in front of him will help, but having a running back that can get upfield, has that experience, will help take some pressure off you as well. So I'm not entirely upset about the Carson move, especially at that price. And then the rest of them, Gerald Everett, I thought it was a little much, but from what he's shown with Jared Goff, I think he could be a valuable asset to the team. Maybe even fill in as that third wide receiver if we really need him to. Because, you got Parkinson still there, so I'm sure he's probably going to be playing a lot of the right off the edge guys, and you might just spread Everett out and not really have him play on the line, because I don't think he's much of a blocking tight end. He's more of a pass-catching tight end. Gabe Jackson, you guys have mentioned the grades. Like, yeah, that's true. I think they probably would have used that pick on an offensive lineman anyways. So it's not the worst thing to me, because like
rather take a pick.
I mean, I'm the opposite. I think we've talked on the show. I'm more of proven over prospects. Not that he's the greatest lineman.
He's proven to be bad. Like, it's not, if you're proven and good, then it's one thing. But
sure, but you don't know what you're going to get in the draft. You have no idea what you're going to get. That's the thing.
But he's bad. That's the whole point.
You're basing off 1 year, though. You're basing off 1 year.
He's been bad for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sure.
My point was 1 year, but he has been bad for a while.
Yeah, he's been bad for the last 3 years.
What you get out of the draft could be as bad as Gary Jackson, but you're also not paying him $10 million.
Or it could be better.
Yep.
I think for a 5th round pick, it's not a bad move. I
agree. It's the cap. It's the $10 million is the issue.
There wasn't a whole lot to go around for the cap anyway. Like Pochich, $3 million. Like I don't see a big issue with that. Puna, that's a solid signing. He was a restricted free agent.
The Seahawks now have the least cap in the NFL.
Witherspoon, $4 million, fully guaranteed. Like that's a small deal.
Those are good deals. I like those deals.
I don't know what Ballore was paid. I don't honestly think he's on the roster to start. I think this is more of just to see if he makes special teams, and then
he's for special teams.
Yeah. Nick Ballore is making $1.7 million.
That's not a lot. I mean, it's a lot for a special teams guy.
It's a lot for a position that doesn't.
There's no guarantee he's going to make the roster, and like I don't see him making the roster, so I don't think this is a big of a deal.
It's Pete Carroll. He'll make the roster.
He'll make the roster. Yeah.
Okay. I don't necessarily think that's a given.
And if they better cut him early, because if they don't, they still owe it. They still owe over $1 million of that against the cap, anyways.
Yeah. So overall, I don't think all these moves were too terrible. There are some that are a little bit odd, but overall, I think they made the best with the cap they had available. So overall, I'm not too upset with what they made, because you didn't have a whole lot of money to play with. and unless people restructure, you cut people. There's not a whole lot you could have done anyways.
They have to. They're over the cap right now.
I mean, they will have to. They don't have to immediately.
And they could cut Belor and be under the cap. I mean,
Ooh. Yeah. Overall, I think the moves were not too terrible. Pretty solid with the amount of money they had to play with. I do want to talk about some of the departures. Let me bring up my sheet real quick here of the ones that have officially left. So we already talked about Carlos Hyde, David Moore. One of my favorites, Jacob Hollister, is now with the Bills. I'm very sad to see you go, Jacob, but I'm sure Josh Allen will throw you the ball quite a bit. So have fun over there. But there are still a lot of guys from the Seahawks who are still just kind of sitting out there. I'm looking at the list right now. Geno Smith, Josh Gordon is officially in the what league is that again? The fan football
players
league?
controlled fan controlled football league.
Yeah, Luke Wilson, Cedric, boy, I butcher his last name. Aboyhe, Chance Warmack, Carlos Dunlap still out there, Benson Mayowa, Shaquem Griffin, I believe is on the Jaguars. I think I saw that report. It's not listed here.
Both Griffin, I think, are going over there.
Are with Jacksonville, so I'm glad they're reunited. Bruce Irvin still out there. KJ Wright is still available, as well as Quentin Dunbar. So,
so is Dunlap.
I mentioned Dunlap.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So looking at that list, I mean, what do you? Obviously, there's very limited cap. They're gonna have to make some moves, but I think KJ is, I'm surprised he's still sitting out there, to be honest with you. So what do you guys make of the moves that are, players that are still out there from the Seahawks team last year? Sean, what do you think?
I think, well, what you're going to have to do first is you're going to have to extend Jamal Adams. He didn't play well last year. I made that clear, but with what you gave up to get him, you're kind of, I don't want to say stuck with him because he can play much better if he's healthy, but you have to extend him for what you gave up. And extending him gives you more cap space this year to play with. With that said, I would go after, I'd probably go after Dunlap. But the problem is you cut him and didn't pay him 14. And would he want 14? If he doesn't, I would go after the thing that some people online have been saying and go after Clowney. Because you could probably get him cheaper because he was hurt last year. And his upside is probably better than Dunlap's anyways. You're just playing the upside bet because you're going less money, but more upside because you just don't have that much money to play with.
Kevin, what do you think?
Yeah, surprising that KJ's there. I like to bring KJ back, but at the same time, too, we had KJ last year and we were 24th ranked defense. He brings a lot to it, and I think adding some stuff along with it will help. I'd like to bring back Dunbar for super cheap, just because I think, 2 years ago he was a top 3 corner, and then got hurt. I think he got hurt earlier than what they really even said. And you can bring him back for cheap just because of injuries and his off the field issues. You could probably even bring him back to near to 1 million, damn near. As far as pass rush, yeah, you could probably go for one of those two. You're going to let your boys play. You're going to have Darrell Taylor back. Wilson Robinson's, coming off a good rookie start. You could re-sign Benson Mayowa to something super cheap, hopefully, because he played pretty well for the snaps that he had. But unfortunately, just this defense just isn't. With the Witherspoon ad, it might help a little bit, to be honest, with Reed and Witherspoon being your starters. And then having Blair back will help. Hopefully, because I don't know if it's past the mark yet. Have they for cutting Diggs? Hopefully that can kind of clear up some room. Because then you just play Blair and
the
Jamal.
First cut is June 1st. The pre-cut is June 1st.
Okay, June 1st. Okay. So, there's no point in keeping Diggs. You might as well just have Blair out there with Jamal and then save yourself some money type of deal. Yeah. Other than that, and then probably draft at least a defensive end at this point for one of your 3 picks, which will probably turn into 4. But other than that, everybody else can kind of go. I'm trying to think of everybody here.
Everyone else can go.
Yeah. I don't think I'm missing anybody. I'll take Clowney for cheap, but or it's just with the limited amount of money and with the Seahawks just paying dumb $6 million to tight ends that they don't need and crap like that. It's just frustrating because we could have done better, but yeah. So.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Kevin. I think Benson Mayo will be a cheap signing later down the road. The longer they sit on the market, the more they might be willing to kind of negotiate a little bit lower than what they really want. So I think you could probably get Benson Mayo on a decent deal. I don't know what the market is for Bruce Irvin, but you could possibly get him back to just kind of maybe help the pass rush a little bit on a cheaper deal. It sounds like KJ just might be a little bit too much. I would like to bring him back, but I think he's going to want quite a bit. So I do think he ends up signing somewhere else. It's hard to tell where with all the linebackers that have gone here, there, and a lot of them have signed for middle deals or major deals. So it's hard to tell what the market would be for KJ. I still think he's in that like $10 million range, but the longer he sits out there without a contract, maybe he lowers it a little bit to maybe 8 or 7 million. I think he's absolutely worth 10 million, but I don't know if he'll get that price out there on the open market, but you never know. But I do think he is worth what he's holding out for, but it's hard to tell if he'll get it at this point. And then on the offensive side of the ball, it's, looking at who's out there that we used to have, Geno Smith, I imagine they'll bring back on a small deal to be the backup once again. So, or you just,
who's that backup guy in a fight in a bar?
Alex McDougal.
Yeah.
So yeah, or you just, sign a guy to, a contract who didn't get drafted or something like that, like they did with the WSU kid from last year. So the backup quarterback position is not going to be something they spend a whole lot of money on, I imagine. So, I think that Benson's probably a realistic possibility, as well as maybe Bruce Irvin, but some of the other guys might be a little bit expensive unless the market allows them to kind of come back to the Seahawks for maybe a little bit less than they were hoping for. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But gentlemen, we got about 10 minutes left, so let's talk about some other moves from around the NFL. So I'm just going to mention some moves, and you tell me which ones kind of poke out at you the most. So Deshaun Jackson has signed with the Rams on a 1-year deal. Juju is back to the Steelers on a $8 million deal. Mitchell Trubisky is now the backup in Buffalo. Kenyon Drake is now paired up with Josh Jacobs in Las Vegas. Patrick Peterson is now a Minnesota Viking. Hudson is signing with the Cardinals, and the biggest deal after our previous show was Trent Williams signing the biggest offensive lineman deal in history with the San Francisco 49ers. So, Kevin, which of those deals kind of jumps out to you?
Oh, first the Trent Williams one, because he was the best tackle in football last year, and it solidifies their O-line, especially, as we've already mentioned, the murderous row of D-lines, with the exception of us, out of the other teams in the division. So, that's a big deal for the 49ers. It allows them to do pretty much whatever they want on that left side, running or pass protection. I kind of wanted Hudson, as I have mentioned probably in tweets and to you guys before, like, because the Cardinals gave up a 3rd round pick for it. Like, if you're going to give up a pick this year out of your 4, like, give up your 3rd round to go get a top 10 center. That's what you should have done. But you instead gave up a 5th to go get a really bad guard. Like, I didn't understand it, but it helps the Cardinals out because that was one of the Cardinals' main needs, other than a few pieces on defense, was their O-line, because their O-line was atrocious last year. Patrick Peterson to the Vikings will be good for them just because they had some secondary troubles last year. It'll help that defense all out and give him a nice veteran presence, even though he's not what he used to be. He's still solid. Kenyon Drake is going to be a backup. Josh Jacobs was just a beast last year. And Kenyon Drake's kind of gone downhill. So Trubisky, nobody gives a fuck. Juju, nobody gives a crap. Juju's not really done anything. I will say, because a lot of people have been worried, and I was talking to Matt before the podcast, that Deshaun Jackson for the Rams, everybody was like, oh my God, Deshaun Jackson for the Rams. I was like, it's not 2012 people. He's their fifth receiver. He's like, I mentioned to another podcast person that literally he's going to get 250 yards and 2 touchdowns at most. And that's me being kind. That's if like both, like two, if that's like Woods and Cup both go down. Like, I like Deshaun Jackson, but let's not kid that Father Time's out there, and he does smack people in the face. So it's good depth for them at receiver, but you also have what's his name, Johnson or Rob? What's your
Jefferson, Cup, and Woods?
Well, yeah, you have Van Jefferson, but who's the other one? That Reynolds also is in there as well.
I thought Reynolds was a free agent.
Maybe it was a free agent, but I mean, I'd rather sign him back.
Yeah, he's gone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But either way, you're right. There he's the fourth. Yeah.
So it's not a real big concern to me, at least. But yeah, the two main ones are the O-line. They made the right moves, and that's what you should do because you want to protect your quarterback, because that's what gets you to Super Bowls. Not getting like running backs don't win you Super Bowls. Like Chris Carson has not gotten us to a Super Bowl, nor will his presence be what gets us to a Super Bowl. Like a good O-line does do that because it protects your quarterback and your quarterback play and doing things downfield. But sorry, I'm just bummed at this. I see good O-linemen going to our division, and we're just like, let's get that dumb guy over there. So go ahead, John.
I'm going to say a couple that Matthew didn't say, but I'll start with Arizona. Arizona Hudson, it's a great move. They're quickly figuring out their O-line. And as also Arizona got a really cheap flyer, not really cheap, I guess, but a cheaper flyer on AJ Green.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that one. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If that dude comes back to anything close to what he was, like him and Hopkins,
yeah, that's something you should be worried about.
With Kyler Murray, like, and that massively improved.
Best team in the NFC West.
That O-line is improving. And I will say again, the next best move. Well, 1A, 1B, like Kevin said, Williams, and you also forgot they got All-Pro Alex Mack as well at their center position. He is
getting older though. Alex Mack is like
he had his worst year and graded 16th. All-Pro Alex Mack is on that O-line, which is already has 3 guys in the top 10 at that position, and then you added Alex Mack. Like, and they got.
Why can't we have a smart coach? Go ahead.
It's just it. At least on the offense for these two teams, they've gotten a lot better. The 49ers, I think, got worse losing Sherm and Witherspoon. They both have played very well when they play. But there's still a lot of defensive talent still. But again, like those are crappy things that have happened in this division. Peterson leaving is a good thing. Peterson, I know what people say, like he's still getting it done. Like he's still pretty good. Like I wouldn't say he's like top 2, but he's pretty good. So for the most part, he's definitely taken a step back. I mean, what is he, 31? But he's still a serviceable corner in this league. Like, don't get me wrong. So him leaving is not a bad thing, because the Cardinals, I talk about their offense, their defense is still a huge work in progress. So him leaving is a big deal. Kevin's right. I don't think that Deshaun's a big deal. Kenyon Drake leaving is not a big deal. Trubisky to the Bills, who cares? Like, I mean, should have drafted another quarterback. Like, that's just straight up what it is. I think Juju is good, but that team on offense is just Ben is not Ben anymore, and that running game is gone. Like, they have no O-line. It's just a mess offensively. Like, they're not even paying Ben that much, honestly, now that I look at it. But it's just I don't think through any fault of Juju's is that team is he didn't suddenly get bad. That whole offense, O-line, running back, and quarterback got bad. And if a wide receiver can't throw himself a pass, wide receivers are held back by who's giving them the ball. And if Ben has just been terrible, I can't. And the year before, I mean, Rudolph and whoever the other guys were, like, that's come on, like, who are we working with there? Like, none of the receivers look great because none of the quarterbacks or O-line is great at all. The tight ends are terrible. Ebron can't barely catch, and he definitely can't block. So, it just sucks that Juju's still on that team. And in a dream world, we would have had a great cap situation. We could have got somebody like Juju. But nope. Not
We're gonna get Antonio Brown instead, bro.
Don't you dare say that. Like Matthew said this earlier, and I agree. And so did Kevin. Like, if Russell likes his guys, he likes his guys. But I draw the line in Antonio Brown. I do not want any part of Antonio Brown. I'm so sorry, Russell. But and I know Tom Brady likes him too. I don't understand. Like, he's not worth the headache what he's going to give you on the field. Like, he's just not.
We run out of time here, but I do want to mention, you are right, Sean. AJ Green, if that signing works out, like that combo of AJ Green and DeAndre Hopkins is going to be. Kyler's going to ball out next year. Kyler's going to ball out next year.
He better. Like, that's his year, Matthew. Like, your prediction of Arizona doing well. Like, he doesn't have any excuses. The O-line's getting better. The receiver core's, like, yeah.
They shored up the defense a little bit, so division champs just got a lot better.
They did.
Like you mentioned, Deshaun Jackson. Like, Rams have been pretty silent outside of Stafford, Floyd, and Deshaun Jackson.
Those are pretty good. I mean, like, two of those moves are pretty big. But
overall, I think they're about the same team they were last year until we see how much better Stafford is.
And they were
Goff.
Good, and they were good last year. They were pretty good.
I think the biggest signing you guys forgot was Kyle Juszczyk re-signed a 5-year deal for $27 million to the 49ers. Fullbacks are still important guys. I love the head shake.
No.
But they did make a lot of good moves on defense with Samson Ebukam, Eastern Washington. Shout out there, Kevin. Emmanuel Mosley is going there. Jason Verrett's going there. Tavon Wilson and I don't know how to say his name. Jakoski Tart, I think is how you say it. He's a safety as well. So they really tried to kind of pad out that defense with some of the guys that have left. So it's the division is looking pretty tough. And then those other moves we mentioned, I think the one I like the most is Kenyon Drake, honestly, because I had Jacobs in fantasy in pretty much all my leagues, and he was banged up quite a bit, and he was always one of those guys who you're like, he's questionable with an ankle injury or a knee injury. So I think that just kind of shorts up that position, and we know John Gruden loves to run the football. So I think he's going to have that 1-2 punch of Jacobs.
He's Latavius Murray for them.
Huh?
He's Latavius Murray for them.
He is a Latavius Murray for them. So that's I like that move. And like Sean said, I mean, Patrick Peterson, still a good cornerback. Not sure how good that Vikings defense is going to be, though, even with him on that team. So it remains to be seen there. But that's all this free agent moves we have. So let us know what you think out there on Twitter. I'm at Matt. Sean's at Sean_Brady. Kev's at Kev's first team believes me in a 3. Go ahead and comment on our YouTube page what you think of the Seahawks moves in the offseason in the free agent market. Follow our page on the Eli Network. Anything you guys want to plug? Nope. All right. Well, we will see you next week on Washington East to West Sports.